real news.
Once again, we are rolling. A plutocracy now.
Welcome back. A lot has changed in the world.
You tell him, Brian.
Michael Jackson, he overdosed. He's gone. We miss him. George
It's
Foreman,
a tragedy.
fried and died. LeBron is the king, not T.I. But that's not real news. The real news is I'm very proud to say we have two people going to Philly for the Democratic National Convention. We have Scott Brown, who is going as a Bernie delegate, and we have Bridgemon Bolger going as an alternate delegate. Both are going to get on the floor eventually. I've heard that alternate delegates will, get to swap out the credentials, get to get on the floor, do stuff, maybe not vote, but they'll be there hanging out, doing cool stuff. And Scott Brown will have his little credentials and he'll be on the floor able to vote.
He'll have his little credentials. His little credentials getting on the floor.
Normal-sized credentials. My slightly above
No, it's
going
to be your little credentials for your little convention.
I am curious, Scott, how you got there. How did you get to the point of being a Bernie delegate? I know you've worked your ass off. I know you volunteered a lot, but I know there's got to be a little bit of a backstory about how you had to politic. I know I'm friends with George Cheedy on Facebook, for example. He's a Democratic County guy, and he said he was going to be pushing for you. What were some crucial things that helped you secure a spot?
Yeah, well, I mean, if we rewind back to April, actually to March, when the campaign was ending, I spent a lot of time working with him, and basically the state field director for Bernie suggested that I asked her about delegates, and she suggested that we should run, and, me and the people who were there at the time were like, okay, and so I urged a lot of other, the grassroots and, volunteers of the campaign, Bernie people to run, and a lot of us won, and I actually won for my district, 7th District of Georgia, representing on April 16th. I was the only candidate to show up, but a few days later I lost my position because of the gender parity rules, and so the Hillary team chose 2 males, so 2 males and 1 female, and there were 4 delegates total for my district, so the other one, the Bernie one, had to be a female, and so they didn't quite know that at the day, so I found out a couple days later, lost my spot, so that got me a lot of sympathy. I think that was why, a lot of Hillary people were, when I went up and talked to the state committee members. And remember, at this point, most Hillary Democrats want Bernie to drop out, and so they're a little bit more hostile to Bernie people than they used to be. But, once I tell these, so basically I had to run for at-large or alternate, that was June, the other day, 11th?
11th, yeah.
So, the people who elect you are the Democratic State Party Committee. So there's 300 people. I think probably half of them showed up. Mm-hmm. And so had to go around and, talk to them, emailed all of them the night before, and then had a couple people helping me out there. There were the 2 people who actually helped run my district election, the county chair and another guy, helped me out. They were just dragging me around, and George. They're basically just dragging me like ping pong ball back and forth between different committee members they knew, and just, as soon as we'd tell them that I won the district and lost it because of the gender parity rule a couple days later, they, immediate sympathy, immediately like, oh, okay, oh yeah, you got my vote, because that was, everyone just pretty much just like, that's messed up. And it was completely inflexible. The other candidate didn't show up, and she was like, it's fine if you take it, but at that point, since she was on the ballot, if she wasn't on the ballot, I would have kept my district spot, but since she was on the ballot, even though she didn't show up and didn't get any votes, I got all the votes. I was the only one who showed up, but, so it went to her, yeah, so that's how that happened, and then, gave another 2-minute speech, and, I had a lot of people having my back, talking to people, George Cheedy, and, a couple other people who weren't even there, who were putting in the good word for me. So, I had a lot of support that helped me make sure I made it. So
that's cool.
Boom.
So what are your goals as you head off to the delegation, to the Democratic National Convention coming up July 25th through 27th in Philadelphia? What are your goals there as a Bernie delegate?
Well, obviously, first off, to get him nominated, which is a long shot, always has been, but, it's still within the realm of possibility. He's got to basically flip 4 out of the 5, a little bit less than 4 out of the 5 superdelegates who have so far pledged to Hillary at some point.
The last time I checked the prediction markets, it was kind of a 100% likelihood that Clinton was going to be the nominee.
Well, I hope so, but Bernie also had, 538. Everyone worships them like some oracles, but they had a 1% chance that Bernie would win Michigan, and guess what? Boom. So give Bernie 0 or 1%, and that's all he needs.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, we've always been up against all the money and power in the world. I know Joey's happy about that because he loves all the money and power in the world. He's got their back, dude.
Are you suggesting that Hillary Clinton spent more money than Bernie Sanders?
No,
or that she was able to raise more money?
That's not
than
the only
Bernie
thing.
Sanders?
Well, for one, no. I would say I don't think her campaign did because she didn't have as many small dollar donors, so she couldn't. But she raised tons of money.
Bernie Sanders.
She had
what you're
super
saying
PACs.
is Bernie Sanders
She had
had the most
victory
money.
funds. I'm actually not sure who spent the most money, but Hillary.
It was Bernie Sanders by far.
Is that just campaign? Is that not including super PACs? Is that not including victory funds?
Actually, all of it. Like
All of it?
all of it.
Okay,
Bernie
good.
Sanders
But-
outspent her by
But
far
guess what?
and still lost.
And guess what? You got to factor in. What are we talking about in this segment? We're blending it all. So I guess so. So we're jumping right into the media here. This is supposed to be a different segment, but now we're talking about the media in this primary. So
All right, bring it.
that's how we ended up here. I mean, if you look at I don't have this all pulled up, but there was a recent, I think it was a Harvard school that did this study of media coverage, and basically they said that's what Bernie needed. You know, Bernie needed coverage early to get him, the name recognition that Clinton already had because everybody knew who she was. Everyone expected her to be president. Basically, through 2015, he got minutes of coverage. Compared to Trump, who got hours, Hillary didn't get so much, but she didn't need coverage. Everyone knew who Hillary was. Everyone expected her to be the Democratic nominee.
Right,
Even
right.
the DNC, like these Guccifer leaks came out, which I was just telling you about. You guys know about Guccifer too?
What about
the
go ahead.
hacked DNC
Gucci?
files?
Gucci's free. Gucci got out.
Yeah.
The hacked DNC files.
Let
have
him
you
know
read
about it,
those?
Scott.
East
No
Atlanta's
one's even
on
denied
six in
them.
the
So,
building.
yeah, basically some more DNC files got hacked, and May last year, you can see their, in their election strategy, they're already framing the whole thing as HRC versus the GOP. They're talking about how they need to muddy the waters regarding here.
And HRC is Hillary Rodham
Hillary
Clinton.
Rodham Clinton, of course, you know who that is, Joe.
So right, but for
our
listeners.
listeners.
Yeah.
Very considerate of you, Joey. Thank you.
I appreciate
I
that.
think
Brian.
if they're listening to this show, they pretty much got the acronyms down pat.
No,
Probably.
man, you
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
it
yeah.
depends on the listeners. Some of them might be
Yeah.
like, yeah, I like the
But
human
like the
rights
people in
campaign,
the
but why
room
would you
not
put them against the
listening?
GOP?
So, yeah, all right.
In the back, yeah.
So let me just pull a little bit from this. It was a Harvard Kennedy School Shorenstein Center on Media and Politics and Public Policy study from June 13th. This was released, and that's the newer study where they were basically talking about how little coverage Bernie got. Let's.
In the beginning or later on?
Well, I still would say that there was a really good April New York Times story that analyzed the Bernie Sanders campaign, before Super Tuesday, before March 15th was Super Tuesday, right? And kind of criticizing Bernie for perhaps not even running a legitimate race against Hillary. Like, he wasn't really going for it. To me, Bernie Sanders almost seemed to kind of take the gloves off and really kind of go for it when it was almost impossible
It was
for him
Yeah,
to win.
I know. I
Absolutely.
agree. I was saying it's because he was being really nice, and it's because everyone basically just took him for granted, dude. All the Democrats took it for granted. How he wasn't calling out how corrupt Hillary is, how she compromised she is, and how much of a weak candidate she would be if she was running up against anybody in the world except Trump.
But I think we have to consider the possibility that Bernie Sanders wasn't even running to win, that he was just
He
running.
wasn't in the beginning. I'll say that, dude. I know, like I can say this for a fact, pretty much. Like he didn't think he was running for 2 states. He was running for Iowa and New Hampshire, and he was going to drop out and make a point, and that was going to be it. And all of a sudden, he comes 50-1, and he wins another, and he's like, oh, we can win. And that's why all of a sudden it was like, oh, this slow mobilization in the South. They devoted way too much to the South, too much to South Carolina with not enough time, and the media coverage wasn't going to be there. So let me pull a little bit, straight from Shorenstein Center here. His poll standing at the beginning of 2015 was barely more than that of the other lagging Democratic contenders, Martin O'Malley and Jim Webb. By summer, Sanders had emerged as Clinton's leading contender, but then his coverage lagged. Not until the pre-primary debates did his coverage begin to pick up, though not at a rate close to what he needed to compensate for the early part of the year. 5 Republican contenders, Trump, Bush, Cruz, Rubio, and Carson, each had more news coverage than Sanders during the invisible primary. Clinton got 3 times more coverage than he did. Name recognition is a key asset in the early going. Unless poll respondents know of a candidate, they're not going to choose that candidate. Like, if you want to quantify, you can't really quantify the name recognition of the Clintons. You can't really quantify how much having. So when you want to say, just put it down to money.
You can. Donald Trump puts $1 billion something amount.
Or if you want
on
to
it,
quantify that media coverage, that's this is the entire mass media, all the cable, pretty much all the media that Americans on the whole ingest,
So
and it's all presupposing that.
It seems like what
We're all
you're
focusing on
doing
Trump.
is trying to explain how it is that Bernie Sanders somehow is able to lose. Why is it that he did not win?
Well,
I'm saying
I'll tell
I don't
you
have a
this.
doubt. I don't have
So-
a doubt that if this election was a year from now, he would win. Even if it started right now, if we were starting the primaries right
Well,
now, I
he
don't really
just
have a doubt
lost
he would win.
California pretty
I will-
solidly. Like,
I
it
know, but
wasn't
that was
even
also
close.
after Hillary Clinton's
And-
campaign, after her her super PAC, right? Was it HFA, Hillary for America? After they made that, made the little graphic to send to AP to have them call it the night before. So let's be real. There was way less. Dude, let me pull up voter turnout stats for California. You know it was pathetic. Compared to 2008, the voter turnout was pathetic. And they called the race the night before. That was totally on purpose. And it was really directed by Hillary's campaign. You could follow the link at the AP graphic, and it takes you to
They
email
didn't
from Hillary
call
for
the
America.
race. They called the nomination.
They called the
because
nomination.
Mathematically, there was like not enough.
It's
room
because
for Bernie to win.
they're counting superdelegates. Nobody won until superdelegates vote because nobody crossed that magic threshold. Everybody knows this. Like, we keep counting superdelegates and saying it's over, but dude,
So yeah, I don't buy into that. The idea that people decided not to go out and vote because
And I would say,
because things
let
had been
me just
called.
say this about.
I mean, this is what polls showed was largely going to happen in California and in New Jersey, which are two big states. And
I do want to
she
state they
crushed
still
Bernie
do
Sanders
have
in
like
both
a
of them.
million. I think was there like 10 million votes or something in California? I think they still have like a million to count. So we'll just throw that out there.
Are
He's
you, are
been
you
doing better as they
suggesting-
keep counting more. He keeps doing better. I'm
you
not
sug-
suggesting he's going to win. I'm not suggesting he's going to flip
Right.
it at all.
All
But
the Hillary.
it's going to bring it closer, and it's going to be more delegates.
But he's
and that's
still
gonna
not
be
gonna
what
win
matters.
it.
But why are
And-
you assuming that it's going to get closer?
Because
Why
so
would you
far
even
it
assume
has,
that?
just based off.
And therefore that's going to continue? Don't you feel like that's a logical fallacy? Like the definition of a logical fallacy?
It could be, but no.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think it's very possible. We'll see.
You
I mean,
also
it's
have
not-
to consider
I'm not betting too
all
much
the
on it. I'm
voter
not saying it's a
suppression
known
that
fact,
happened.
but I'm
All
guessing.
right then.
The Bernie Sanders voters were suppressed
Let's
by
talk
the
about-
Hillary people.
Well, let's talk about
can talk
how.
about no party preference.
Let's talk about how a lot of people who say they support Bernie have so much passion, but when it comes time to do things like show up at your delegate election, a lot of people didn't do that. You just said the
Okay,
person.
well-
no, but you just said the person that you were running against. They didn't even show up, but by the way the rules work, she won anyway. And what actually contributed to winning, it was like 5 people you were running against, and of the 5, 2 of those people did not show up. Yeah, this was on the 11th. So, but every single person who declared, every single person who attempted to be a Hillary delegate showed up. But there were several people from the Bernie Sanders campaign, both alternate and
is
at-large
interesting.
delegates, who did not show up.
I
So,
Because
I
hold
am a
on,
little-
if Bridgemon shuts up, I can say something here.
please,
Bridgemon,
I want an
let's-
explanation for that.
Okay, first off, you want me to explain? Okay, well then you need to explain every single Hillary delegate who didn't show up the other day when it came 33 to 55. That's a lot closer than it should have been with the delegate turnout when we were voting for party or for the delegate chair.
And you're right. You
Now
know what?
what?
A lot of people throughout the
So
state.
all of a sudden, it's not just Bernie people who are lazy and not
No.
showing up. All of a sudden, it's
no.
Oh, snap.
Hillary elected
No.
delegates,
Oh,
not just
snap.
candidates
Every
on the
single
ballot.
person on that list
And
who
you
came
know
for Hillary
those
Clinton
Hillary
showed up.
people are
but
black.
what did not? What the following week, a lot of those people who showed up the previous week came from all over the damn state of Georgia.
And same with the Bernie people. Same with the Bernie people. The only one who didn't show up blew out a tire on his way.
And the majority of, but again, there's still another person that didn't show up. But again, and it just happens to be a Bernie guy. I'm just saying, there are of just that one of this is the Democratic Party of Georgia in one state. By that lack of turnout by people who are committed enough to support Bernie Sanders to apply themselves to be a delegate. And then not even show up for and a lot of these
It's
people.
real easy
A lot
to
of these
apply.
people were
Let's
from
be real.
Metro
It's real
Atlanta as
easy to
well.
apply.
well, when
A
you're
lot of people from Metro Atlanta, so I'm just saying.
But when you're-
maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe less of a fact than corruption or lack of media coverage.
a lot of these Bernie voters and Bernie delegates, though, are
Media
working
coverage is
minimum
fact.
wage jobs, and
Harvard
it's really
study.
hard to get off of those shifts if you're working a minimum wage job
And
to
all
be
the
able to go to
establishment
be a
people, all the
delegate.
people who are comfortable enough to use all their free time on party
But
politics
wait,
anyway with the
were
state.
lower income workers
Yeah,
more
they always
likely to be
show up.
for Bernie or Hillary? I thought they were
Bernie,
more likely to be for Hillary.
Nope, that's Bernie.
Bernie.
But here, let me pull up another. Let me drop this.
That's a rough. Everybody didn't have a situation. All those people, I guarantee you, did not have some type of major catastrophe in their lives that same day. And why is it only happening to Bernie Sanders people?
I don't know what you're
Are
talking
you
about
telling
now,
me that
but hold on, let
delegates
me-
don't be working at McDonald's?
No, what I'm telling you, there were at least
More Bernie
there were
delegates showed up as a
70
percentage
There were about
the
77
other day,
people
this weekend.
who applied to be Hillary Clinton delegates.
That's applying. That's applying. Look,
and every one of them showed up.
and guess what?
And of the Bernie Sanders
you're
people,
talking
there were
about-
maybe about 30. And of the 30,
This
I
dude
want to
needs
say a good
science.
5
You
or
need
6
to bring some data to
did
this,
not-
dude. Come
I
back
mean,
when you
that's
got
just-
some
I mean-
stats. Come back when
Alright.
you got some stats. You're
So
using one
Bridgemon-
example of one person who
Maybe
didn't
that's
come
why
to
you
my
lost Georgia.
district
I don't
election.
know. I can only speak for Georgia. But I'm just saying,
All right, well, let me talk.
maybe Bernie Sanders, okay, a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters tend to be younger and have, less
this whole
of
condescending
less
bullshit line,
experience.
dude,
Oh,
and then-
first of all, they have less experience in this
Give him
process.
20 minutes, and we're talking about party unity. But right now, he's calling us unexperienced, lazy.
They don't.
I'm not doing that. I'm
They
saying,
don't-
I'm just saying that.
Oh, you know how young people
when
are.
it came time for people to show
Bernie
up.
supporters are all
you
young
know,
and
they're just,
they're high. They're
Yeah, all
McDonald's
getting-
or whatever. They don't.
yeah.
I mean, I
it
get high
is.
too, so that's neither here nor there.
Can I,
But I
Bunch
showed
of,
up
like,
when it was time for me to
college
show
Can I
up.
lay out this? Look, I was trying to call out this earlier because I didn't know we were going to get here, but I got it up now.
Right.
So California, this is just interesting. So I got it. Joey, let me know your take on it. Bridgemon, after all that, I don't want to hear yours, man.
I bet you
good. I'm just fucking with you.
I let you know. But I just had to let it be known. I just had to let it be known.
Okay.
All the Hillary people showed up.
All right, hit us with
Dude,
it.
not
Scott.
all of them. Not this weekend.
No,
On the
no,
18th?
this weekend, this is
When they actually had to vote on something?
Well, they
and
actually had to-
what about state committee party
But then-
members?
but
Most of
then-
them were
Hold on.
Hillary
No, no, no.
supporters.
Hold on.
How many of them
I just
didn't
wanna
show
hear
up?
what- I just wanna hear this thing with
Hold on.
Scott, man.
You
I
say
don't
this,
get,
you
like,
say this, you
nobody-
say that, you say that, but then again, we have a situation where it was 2 people running, a female African American who was supporting Bernie Sanders and an old white man supporting Hillary Clinton.
Nobody
and the old
cares,
white man
man.
won again. So
This is the next.
Yeah,
we're gonna do this
I
in
don't-
the
no
next
one
segment.
cares
Next
about that.
segment.
I
Let's
want
focus.
I want to hear what Scott was going to
Because
say.
we got to do that in a different segment
about
now.
about the
We fucked
California
up.
thing.
So yeah, California numbers. Democratic primary in 2008, 4,700,000.
Now, the California primary in 2008 was in March,
Yeah, it was
right?
a lot earlier. Yeah.
Okay.
But still, I'm just I just want to point that out. So when you point out what happened in California, yeah, at that point, and so wait, why does that matter if it was in March?
Because it would have been in the middle of the Obama-Hillary matchup. They would have been pretty well tied.
But so that.
I mean,
and so you're saying competition increases voter turnout.
It
Are you
increases
saying
turnout, but I'm not
the perception
claiming.
of a competitive race
Here's the
increases
difference
turnout.
between me and you. I'm saying it increases turnout.
But you're saying the opposite isn't
it's going to
true.
increase turnout more for the presumed winner. And I'm saying
not
that
saying
there's
that
no
is.
basis for that.
No, that's not-
because otherwise more people would have turned out for both sides, and the victory would have been the same by percentage and more in bulk because
well,
more people would have voted.
I'm just saying that it's like now you have a situation where, regardless of what happened, the votes are in, and it is what it is. But there are still things
And what
that
it is
Sanders,
not over yet.
Technically.
Technically.
Your main
be at
focus,
the end.
your main focus going into convention, you say is to get Bernie Sanders the nomination, but we all know it's to have a voice in the platform. That's what your real reason for going is.
Oh.
So and that's every Bernie Sanders delegate. It's no chance of him becoming the nominee anymore. So but you have to put on this face
There was
like
never any
yes.
chance if we listen to you. Look, if we
okay.
rewind, go back almost a year to the interviews we said. When I talked to you, when we were talking about Bernie versus Hillary, and we got down to it, you said, I mostly agree ideologically with Bernie, but
Right.
he can't win.
Right.
And all of a sudden now, when it comes down to after a super tight, contentious primary where it's only, 200 delegate spread, maybe 300,
But you said the same thing. I want to say you bet somebody
At that point, you
money
never thought it
that
would be
Hillary
this
Clinton would
close.
be the nominee.
before Bernie was in,
Didn't
before
you
I
let-
thought, and that was and that was in 2014. This is whole part of the media perception, the way I could see how broken our system was and how she's pretty much has the whole machinery in place to get herself elected. I mean, this isn't making a good point for you by pointing out that I put $100 on her 3 years ago. That's not a good thing for democracy.
But
can I say-
so you're trying to say democracy did not truly
I'm saying democracy didn't elect.
did not truly.
She was the presumed nominee at that point, and she was, at that point.
Okay.
Republicans don't have demographics on their side, so basically it's a two. If she's on
Okay.
one side, there's only one other person in the race.
Who do
This
you
is
believe?
American politics.
Who do you believe
So,
genuinely got more votes in this election, this primary election, nationally, on each primary? Who do you believe actually got the most amount of votes?
Probably Hillary Clinton, but not by as much.
Okay, but then she still would be the nominee
I
because.
know, but there's
So-
factors. Look, if we voted today, if every state voted today, I think, and we just basically started from scratch. Do you guys think? I think Bernie would win. Do you guys not think? Do you guys
No.
not see that trend?
I
Really?
think,
Why?
I think that.
No.
I think that.
Because
a
look,
lot of
I know
people-
tons of people. I know Bernie supporters in Georgia, Florida, all over, dude.
Sure,
in New York, they had to be registered basically Bernie had, probably like 5 minutes on each major news network in the whole election at the point that New Yorkers had to be registered as Democrats in
Sure,
October
so
of last year.
if you were to show like
That's a
nation,
huge.
if
There
you were
was
to-
many people in New York. 3 million people were independents in New York. Couldn't vote in the Democratic primary. That's pretty much Hillary's lead right there in one
Scott,
state.
But we have nationwide polls to put Hillary Clinton against Bernie Sanders. So if what you were saying was true, we should be able to see in those nationwide polls that Bernie Sanders would have surpassed Hillary Clinton, and then we would be able to say, hey, it looks like people are realizing after the fact that we should have had Bernie Sanders. That's not happening.
It was
so you
getting
don't
real
have
close.
much of an argument here.
What are the
Real
national
close
polls
is
look like?
not
Have there been any?
50% plus one though. That's what I'm saying.
But
I mean,
you can't go off like a poll that's got a sample size. Pull up Real Clear Politics.
I
See
just
where we're
don't.
at.
I just don't see where.
I haven't looked at any of those polls. I haven't seen a poll versus Hillary.
I
The thing
just
is,
don't-
I have been looking at the polls, and it's not.
But
that
I
I can
would-
see why he would be losing
I would
because
say
at this point
this.
he is presumed to have lose. The media is saying
The media,
so to
media has a
answer-
great, it definitely does shape public opinion, but at the
Like,
same
look,
time,
here's my problem. If I came and said that the media created Trump, you guys, would you argue with that?
He
didn't run a fucking ad last year.
I would argue with that. Yeah.
You would, okay.
Yeah, but here's
Well,
here's
I want to
the
hear
The
that.
media definitely helped create
in terms
Trump.
of the Huffington Post
He's a reality TV
aggregator
star.
for
He's
polls.
definitely created by the
Right
media.
now, nationwide, Hillary
Huffington
Clinton
Post
is at
polls.
53% and Bernie Sanders is at 36%.
But that's now. Now is a completely different place than we were when there was at least the popular perception that the race was competitive.
If you could
I don't-
look at the
are you not? Will you not
polls,
admit that?
it's-
Look at the polls.
Even if
Look
you're
at
going
the polls
further
back when it was real
All right.
competitive. Go
Scott,
back
can
to.
you admit that?
But then why?
Maybe there's
but that's a
something
part of
that
the issue, isn't it?
That
I mean,
the
why is it
campaign
less
itself could
competitive
have
now?
done.
Go back to when
Eh.
Oregon was voting.
I think Bernie could have hit Hillary hard. Bernie could have hit Hillary hard about Honduras on day one and just called her out about how a moral insanity that is. Like,
Let me just point this out. The closest
But
that
he wasn't
Huffington
playing
Post
to
has it
win.
is between
know.
Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. The
But
closest
he's
they
still the
came
best candidate.
was
He's the best candidate for the
It-
party.
hold
He's
on,
the best candidate
hold
for
on.
democracy, for
Hold
our
on.
species, for our
the-
civilization.
okay,
our
right. So,
species.
but that's the
Bernie
argument
says
we're
the
making
word
right
again.
now. Hillary Clinton was beating.
There's no other path. Show me the other path, Bridgemon.
The closest that Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders was 49 for Hillary Clinton, 43.7 for Bernie Sanders, and that was April 6th.
What was it again?
April 49 to 43.7. This was on April 6th. Since April 6th, there's been a divergence. Clinton has gotten a bigger and bigger lead. There's nothing that happened on April 6th or around April 6th that should have caused
The
this.
increased perception that it was
according to your
over.
theory, it
Increasing-
should have kept getting closer. The fact that it's diverging suggests that your theory
I can
has
say
no
because
evidence.
I see people. What a lot of people are doing. They're people who are similar to Bridgemon, but slightly on the other side of the fence and went for Bernie. They're jumping right back to the other side as soon as they think that Hillary is the eventual nominee. I mean, the guy who's running for this district, Rashid Malik, he was a Bernie supporter, talked all like Bernie, and all of a sudden at some point, I think it was right around New York, all of a sudden it's, we got to get behind the nominee Hillary Clinton, I love Hillary Clinton, all this. Like,
So here's what you're trying to do
that's-
right now.
that's
You're
the trend,
trying
that's what
to
happened. Yeah.
explain why it is that Bernie Sanders lost.
I think
When
in a completely
what,
fair-
what,
what I'm
what I
saying
think what you
is-
should be doing
I'm being-
is explaining and admiring the fact that Bernie Sanders did better than anyone expected him to do, and that he got something like 40% of the overall popular vote in the primaries, which is
But-
extraordinary.
And he's gonna have 40% of the delegates at the convention.
And what's
So-
the problem with just saying like, oh well, Bernie did something better than we expect? And that's all right. Honestly, I sort of didn't expect Bernie to do this good. I thought he could. I thought he should. But and I saw it all there. But I sort of didn't expect. But now at this point, I'm making this argument. I wouldn't have made this argument a year ago. I wouldn't have said that in a fair battle, in a fair election, Bernie would win. I wouldn't have completely fair, the media fair, money fair, everything between Bernie and Hillary. A year ago, I wouldn't have put my money on Bernie. I would have said I really don't know. But now at this point, seeing how close it was, while it was completely biased, completely skewed by whether superdelegates by 6 debates or maybe they did 8 now, didn't they? And then Hillary went back on the last one.
You don't think she's just a really hard person to beat?
I know. I admit
Barack,
that.
Barack
Yes.
Obama.
But look, she had the
was
party
able to
on her
beat
side, and
but-
now we have evidence that she had the party on her side. This Obama has been holding back in her TPP State Department emails until after this election. That just came out. I mean, there's so many factors here.
I mean, that might have
so
something to
you're-
do with
you're making
him trying to be president of the United States rather than him trying to help.
Yeah, I mean, you're making a lot of claims here.
Yeah, I mean,
and
and
it's not
that's
just-
sensitive emails that he had with
Look,
the
and they said
Secretary of State.
the State Department said they'll release it on November 31st. That's not even a day. Or by November 31st, they're going to release her TPP era State Department emails.